I'm here today talking to Jesse Coleman. He's the Transportation Big Data Lead for the City of Toronto, and we're going to be talking about the King Street pilot project. So Jesse, can you share me a bit of the data that you guys have collected so far with the pilot? It's been over a year now, so you've probably collected quite a bit.
Sure, so we had a bunch of important questions that we needed to answer as part of the pilot project. Some of the questions were things like, we were restricting access to cars on King Street, and we had some fundamental questions around, is traffic congestion worse downtown because of it? Are we encouraging people to walk or bicycle on the street? What's the impact of that on daily life? So to do this, we ended up collecting a whole bunch of different sensor-based data, so Internet of Things. And so two of the primary data sets that we collected are, the first one is using Bluetooth sensors. So we put a grid of those at major intersections downtown, and we're able to detect vehicles and devices as they pass by the downtown and see how fast traffic is moving on different streets.
Yeah, and you spoke earlier about those Bluetooth sensors and some of the security and privacy that you guys have put into that. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you're trying to keep the data secure as well?
Yeah, so we essentially follow, we bury privacy into how we design a system like that. So we're tracking the MAC addresses of devices or vehicles as they go through downtown, which there's a potential for a privacy infringement there. So what we do is we make sure that everything is hashed and secured right from the moment it's detected, and we sort of re-scramble it, protect it multiple times through the process so that there's just no way that data can ever be personally identifiable.
Yeah, which is very important to people, right? It's been a big year for security and safety with our data, so it's good to know that the city is considering that. What are some really exciting pieces of data that you guys have collected and learned about from the King City pilot?
So I think probably the most interesting part that has been a real surprise to people in the city is that we're able to do a project like this, measure around the clock, 24/7 for an entire year, what has been the impact on other streets downtown. And we've been able to show pretty convincingly that we have not had a measurable impact on traffic congestion on other streets downtown. It may be counterintuitive to some people, but it was something that we were anticipating in a lot of ways with this project. And it's just because people are able to change how they make their decisions in the day. They're able to take different streets when they're driving. They're able to take transit that's more reliable. And so when you sort of add up all these factors, what our data shows, and it showed pretty convincingly, is that the project hasn't had any impact on traffic congestion in the city.
So what do you do from here? What do you do with this data? How do you apply it to transportation and improving the infrastructure of the city?
So from here on in, so for the King Street pilot specifically, us as staff now have to report back to council on what our findings were and what our recommendations are going forward. So that's going to be happening early in sort of Q1 of 2019. We're going to be reporting back to council on it, and then it'll be up to council to make a decision on where the project goes from there. From a data perspective, we're just looking to package up this model of building sort of permanent monitoring and tracking capability around all of our projects going forward.
Yeah, so we recently heard this past couple weeks that the they want the pilot to be extended till July of next year. What additional information are you looking to get from that? So
the main impetus behind that is just giving staff a bit of time to crunch all of the numbers that we collected over the last year. So really, we're evaluating this project based on the start of it, which was in November, all the way through to the following, to the end of December of this year. And so we need a bit of time to crunch that, put together a staff report. And then, so the extension is to the end of July, or beginning of July, I'm not sure, into July. Mm-hmm. And that just gives staff the time that if council makes a decision to change how the project is configured, there's time for staff to implement those changes before the sort of bylaws get reverted and so on. Mm-hmm. So it's really just about an evaluation period.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, thank you so much for chatting with me, Jesse. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
For IT World Canada, I'm Megan Simpson.